Hey guys, the Fire Brothers here. It's just me. My brother couldn't be here today because he's gathering an army of waifus and using them to destroy Lorenzo Di Ventura. He's doing God's work, everyone. Anyways, these are the jokes. There are no refunds available. So you saw the title to this part 2 to my previous video where I talk about all the Autobots that died after the last night, except that in this part I talk about the Decepticons that died after the last night. Now keep in mind that at this point, as of the Bumblebee movie, the Michael Bay movies are no longer canon and we're not really likely to see these characters again, so for characters that have been missing for so long, I will most likely list them as deceased. We'll see. But if you guys want to see the previous video where I covered the Autobots, there's gonna be a link in the description down below and in the comments down below. Make sure to go check out that video and let's try to get this video to 669 likes. Why not? Anyways, so let's begin by talking about all the Decepticons that died after Transformers the last night and how they died. First off, Megatron, status alive. Now a lot of people don't know this, but Megatron, the last time we saw him at least, got kicked off the ignition chamber that was like falling all the way from the atmosphere to Earth, and people assumed that Megatron just fell and died. Well, that's actually not the case because Megatron can fly without his vehicle mode. We actually see him do this in the movie, so it stands to reason that Megatron, even with the arm missing, can still transform and can still fly. So at this point, Megatron's still alive, but his current whereabouts are unknown. Barricade returned for the final battle for Cybertron. Once the ignition chamber came into orbit, Megatron and Nitro Zeus took to the skies to defend it. However, Barricade was unable to fly, so he was left behind. So much like in Dark of the Moon, he decided to go missing again and skip the battle. He's still alive, but his current whereabouts are unknown. Nitro Zeus, kill in action. He was killed by Bumblebee during the final battle at the ignition chamber. Although it should be noted that while his head got blown up, the rest of his body was used by Cogman to upgrade himself. So in a way, Nitro Zeus is not entirely dead, but I'm still gonna label him as dead since he's not the one in command. Mohawk, current status alive. When the Decepticons got ambushed and they separated, Mohawk was left alone looking for the other Decepticons when out of nowhere Bumblebee showed up and single-handedly took down the Decepticon, although Mohawk's head apparently survived, so technically Mohawk is still alive and could very much come back. Onslaught, kill in action. He was decapitated by Drift after he got ambushed by Crosshairs. Dreadbot, status kill in action. He was devoured by Grimlock after the Decepticons were ambushed by the Autobots' surprise attack. Berserker, current status alive. He still kept prisoner by the TRF since he was deemed too dangerous to ever be let out. Quintessa, status alive. She survived the final battle for Cybertron and is currently seeking a new way to destroy Unicron. Her current whereabouts are also unknown. Infernocous, status dead. He was decapitated by Optimus Prime after he was forced to divide into his multiple components. Galvatron, current status deceased. After he survived the Age of Extinction while making the transition for Galvatron back to Megatron, it looks like Megatron acquired a new body which no longer uses the K.S.I transformation, meaning that the Galvatron body and persona was most likely discarded entirely. So Galvatron is officially dead. Stinger, status kill in action. He was killed by Bumblebee with assistance from Strafe, and his head was later devoured by the latter. K.S.I Drones, missing in action and kill in action. A lot of the K.S.I drones were killed in Age of Extinction, but it looks like some of them survived to the time of the last night. And in fact, there are rumors that some of these guys are still alive. More on them in a little bit. Lockdown, status killed in action. While trying to kill K. Jaeger, he was stabbed in the back by Optimus Prime and then split in two, putting an end to the bounty hunter. Shadow Riders, status missing in action. After Lockdown died, the Shadow Riders took the night ship to locations unknown. But thanks to the last night, we know that they didn't leave the planet since later Day Trader finds the ship. What happened to the Shadow Riders is still unknown, but supposedly they didn't go far. Steeljaws, status unknown. Much like the Shadow Riders, they're part of Lockdown's crew, and supposedly there's many more of them, so one can only guess that they're still out there somewhere. Decepticon Protoforms, status missing in action. There's plenty of Decepticon Protoforms that survived Dark of the Moon, and some that might have gotten away during the time of the last night. The current whereabouts are unknown, but supposedly there's still many Protoforms hiding on Earth somewhere, scanning new vehicle modes. Starscream, current status, kill in action. Starscream couldn't get rid of the bomb in time, and it exploded, killing him. His head will later be retrieved by Day Trader and be offered to the Autobots. Shockwave, current status, missing in action. Strangely enough, in the last night, when Hot-Rod kidnapped Vivian, she asked Hot-Rod for his identity. She brought up names like Soundwave and Shockwave, even though those two have been dead for years, possibly implying that Shockwave somehow came back to life. Not only that, but in Age of Extinction, one of the Shockwave drones apparently got away. While this hasn't really been confirmed, it hasn't been disproven either, but I'm gonna put this as MIA for the time being. Driller, kill in action. While he was trying to execute Sam and the humans, Optimus Prime showed up just in time to save them and decapitated the Driller on the spot. His body was supposedly used later to create the bulk of the K.S.I drone army. Soundwave, current status, missing in action. So much like I mentioned with Shockwave, Soundwave gets mentioned as if he was still out there because Vivian honestly believed that Hot-Rod was him, even though the identity of the Decepticons' main leaders and faction members are public knowledge. In Age of Extinction, Cade knew Megatron as a Decepticon who started the Chicago War. We also know that the army and some organizations keep track of Transformers' identities like Cemetery Wen, who had a deck of cards which dictated which Autobots and Decepticons were killed and which ones were still out there. So meaning that it is public knowledge that both Soundwave and Shockwave were killed. So Vivian bringing them up could only mean that they're somehow back. While this hasn't been proven, it hasn't also been disproven, so I'm just gonna list this as missing in action for the time being. Who's to say Galvatron wasn't the only one to transfer his consciousness to a K.S.I drone? Frankly, in my honest opinion, I believe that Soundwave doing that is a little bit more realistic than Shockwave, because Shockwave, at least in the movies, doesn't seem the kind to do that, but Soundwave does. Laserbeak, status, killed in action. He was killed by Bumblebee after Sam managed to pin him down, close to one of the Decepticon ship's guns, which was activated by Bumblebee and managed to decapitate the Decepticon spy. Decepticon Loader, status, killed in action. Although making a short appearance in Dark of the Moon, in Age of Extinction we actually found out that he was killed by Cemetery Wen, supposedly sometime after the Chicago battle. Devcon, status, killed in action. He was present during the final battle for Chicago City. The Wreckers managed to pile on top of him and they shot him in the head repeatedly, killing the Decepticon for good. Igor, status, missing. We don't really know what happened to Igor since the last time we saw him was in Dark of the Moon and he hasn't been brought up since. But it's most likely that we're never gonna see this guy again, so I'm gonna list him as killed. The Dreads, Crankcase, Hatchet and Crowbar, all killed in action. They were trying to kidnap Sentinel Prime during Dark of the Moon, but they were stopped by the combined team of Mirage, Sideswipe and Bumblebee. Crowbar and Crankcase will later meet their end at the hands of Sideswipe and Ironhide later during the fight. The Fallen, killed in action. He fell during the final fight in Egypt at the hands of Optimus Prime, who had powered up by using Jetfire's parts. Ravage, status, killed in action. He was bisected by Bumblebee during the Egypt fight, and his internal skeleton was used to slightly damage Rampage during the fight, as well as disturb the Decepticon and throw him off guard. Redman, status, missing in action. We don't know his current whereabouts after Revenge of the Fallen, and we will likely never will. So, Redman will be listed here as deceased. Scalpel / the Doctor, status alive. From what we've seen, he's not the only Doctor out there. In Dark of the Moon there's plenty more. And when there's more than one, you can clearly bet that they're still out there somewhere. Much like the Protoforms who we once believed we will never see again after Dark of the Moon, they came back for the last night. So the Doctor here, and we never saw him die, and there's so many more of him, so his current status is still alive. Alice, status, killed in action. After her cover got blown, she was ran over by the humans in a car and her body was left behind. Grindor, status, killed in action. During the fight against Optimus Prime, the leader of the Autobots managed to climb on top of him and then later split his face in two, killing the Decepticon once and for all. Devastator and all of his components. I'm just gonna keep this short, killing action. All of Devastator's components are dead and we're never gonna see them again, but Decepticons resembling the Constructicons body types have been spotted. But as for Mixmaster, Rampage, Longhaul, Scrapper, Hightower, Overload, Scavenger, and Scrap Metal, they're all dead. Sideways, current status, killed in action after bravely fighting against the Autobots and beating them to an inch of their lives. Sideways attempted to flee like the good guy he is to let them live, but then the evil Autobot Sideswipe showed up and mercilessly and disgracefully killed Sideways while he was on his vehicle mode. The Autobot brought great shame to his kind that day, but Sideways was hailed a hero for the Decepticon cause for years to come, so he did got the happy ending. Bonecrusher, status, killed in action. Apparently he was killed in Egypt because Bonecrusher's towing bios claimed that he actually survived the first movie and he made their reappearance in Revenge of the Fallen. Even Transformers Forced to Fight supports this fact, since in the game he's listed as being from Revenge of the Fallen even though he died in the first movie, so it is implied that Bonecrusher survived the first movie only to be killed off screen in Revenge of the Fallen. Scorponok, status, killed in action. After reappearing during the Egypt fight, he had a small engagement with Jetfire, but he was later executed by the bigger Autobot. Brawl, status, killed in action. He was overwhelmed by the combined Autobot and human forces firepower. His armor plating took too much damage during the early part of the battle, and when Bumblebee came in at the last minute and started engaging the Decepticon, his armor was already too weakened at the time, and he succumbed to his wounds. Blackout, status, killed in action. He was shot into scrotum by Captain Lennox, and this combined with the human jet's firepower was enough to bring the Decepticon down for good. Frenzy, current status, killed in action. After the Autobots left to protect the cube, the remaining humans stayed behind to contact reinforcements. Frenzy also stayed behind to make sure this did not happen. After having a small engagement with the humans, he deployed several flying blades which bounced across the room. Unfortunately, one of those blades ricocheted badly across the room and took out most of Frenzy's head, killing the Decepticon as he collapsed to the ground. And yeah guys, those are all the Decepticons that survived, died, or are currently missing after the events of the last night. Surprisingly, there's quite a few of them still alive out there. There's quite a few missing as well. For this whole Soundwave and Shockwave thing, I think there's plenty of good evidence pointing that they could be back, but there's also plenty of evidence pointing that this could just be an exaggeration by BVN, but we still don't know that quite well. So in the meantime, I'll just list them as missing in action, but we're most likely never gonna see them again unless they make a Transformers 6 to clear out their fates. But since they were mentioned in the latest Bayformer movie, I feel like I should at least mention them and bring them up here, so that's why I listed them as missing in action. So anyways guys, that's the end of this video, the end of this remaster of my old video where, you know, I talked about all the Autobots and Decepticons who won't be in the last night, and now I talk about the ones that survived and died after the last night. So if they ever make a Transformers 6 with Bayformers, I really hope they don't, I will do an update to this list, but in the meantime, this is where we stand with the Bayformers. So anyways guys, let me know your thoughts on all this in the comments down below. Are you guys happy that some Decepticons are still alive? Are you guys upset that so many died? And what are your thoughts on Soundwave and Shockwave possibly being back? Let me know all about it in the comments down below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Stay safe guys. Also, let's go for 669 likes. Thank you.